First of all, I want to thank you all for having me here and thank Lupe for having me here. This is the first site captain meeting of all of them for the year, which is awesome. And you're just an enormous part of this event. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Many of you know the history of Coastal Cleanup Day. Just really briefly, this is now going to be our 34th cleanup. We started in 1985. We were following the examples set by our friends up in Oregon. We did a beach cleanup in 1984. We started with all 15 coastal counties. We had 2,500 people in 1985, which was pretty great for our first event, but people loved it. They kept coming out. They wanted to do more and more of this. The Coastal Cleanup Day itself, this one event in September, has grown to become the state's largest annual volunteer event. Last year we had over 66,000 people participate during the cleanup. We picked up almost 1 million pounds of trash. And the information that you have been able to gather during our cleanups is what has allowed us to grow. It's what allowed us to actually change laws and regulations in the state. We never would have had cleanups going on in Napa as part of Coastal Cleanup Day if not for the information you gathered through data collection during cleanups that showed us that most of the trash entering the ocean off California comes from inland. It comes from land-based sources. 80% of the trash that enters the ocean from California comes from land-based sources. So we're cleaning up in Napa. We're cleaning up the Napa River. We clean up in the Sierra. We clean up basically any place water flows in California now, because we know it all flows downhill, and it's all going to end up in the ocean if we don't stop it where it starts. So we now have cleanups in 55 of California's 58 counties. We have more than 1,000 individual cleanup sites across the state, and as I said, tens of thousands of people turning out every year to help us out. And that really is a tribute to what you have done to spread the message of the cleanup and to let people know that trash anywhere is a danger to our ocean, it's a danger to our coast, and through water we are all connected to the shoreline of California. We have a statewide plastic bag ban now because of Coastal Cleanup Day data. And because of Coastal Cleanup Day data, we know that the statewide bag ban is actually effective. The plastic grocery bags have dropped from close to 9% of everything we were picking up to just over 1% of what we picked up last year. It's dropped entirely out of the top 10 after being a permanent resident in the top 5 for as long as we've been doing this cleanup. So we know that the data not only can impact regulations and help us change policy, but it can also help us ensure that those policies and those changes are actually having an impact. So please encourage your volunteers to keep collecting that data, keep picking up trash, and hopefully changing their behaviors and their consumption patterns so that we're not having to create and dispose of all this single-use disposable trash that makes up the vast majority of what we have to pick up on.
So it's really important that once people start coming to your table, make sure first off, they all get a waiver signed. If you do have people that are under 18, make sure that they have a guardian or parent sign it off. With our waivers, we have both English and Spanish, and each waiver, I recommend to put it in like a plastic sleeve to keep it safe. And then right here we have extra sign-in areas to save paper, so you're not, handling like 100 different waivers while you're out there. People waiting, I recommend to start gathering or giving them some of the materials. When people are cleaning, the main materials they'll have is gloves, a bucket, and a grabber. With just coming in, getting the waivers, super important. Having them get set up with their equipment, doing an introduction, and remember the introduction should be just a quick blurb. You can mix and match it any way you'd like when it comes to the introduction, and then the safety protocol. Each site will be given its own bin. These things right here are what you will find in your bins. Each bin lid will have a list of the things that need to be in the bin. Gloves, flags, some things for safety, which Leaf will explain in a bit. A bag, hand sanitizer, first aid kit, cups, some tape. And then I recommend for you to bring whatever you need to make your table like look fancy, to bring a tablecloth. I do have some posters you can hang off the table of Coastal Cleanup Day if you'd like to take some before the end of the day. Water jugs, we'll try to provide as many water jugs as we can so that people can stay hydrated throughout the day.
We do a lot of cleaning up around the rivers and the creeks, and we find that there's some potential safety hazards out there to watch out for. The normal ones to let people know about are, slips, trips, and falls. Make sure they've got good footing. Make it clear for everybody that what we're doing is having fun out there. We're not trying to get hurt. And we want to stay safe using maybe the buddy system is a good one. Make sure people don't get lost. Sort of the general thing whenever people are out and about doing stuff. Some of the things that we'll find out on the river here are things that will float up. We've got a sharps container for needles. Syringes have been found at cleanup sites around the county, so that's something to watch out for. There's some protocols for how to handle a syringe. We'll have the bins at each site, and I'll say the best method for dealing with it is going to be either one-handed with a glove. You don't want to go two hands with the syringe because you might poke yourself. So one hand, or even just have the bin on the ground and use a grabber and put it in. I will say one thing that has been a problem year after year. It says on the top, do not snap lid until full. People snap the lid when there's only one or two syringes in there, and then the whole bin is wasted. So just close it lightly. You don't snap it shut, because we reuse them until they're full and then dispose of them. And then make sure that Lupe gets these back, and then when they're full, I can have them disposed of. Tell people not to mix their syringe in with everything else. We don't want it to be a surprise when somebody finds one on the tarp or in the bottom of a bucket. So let people know if they find a syringe, make sure they know where it is and get it to the site captain so that it can be properly disposed of. That's probably one of the primary safety concerns. The other one is when you're working along the river or the creeks, especially in tidal areas, we will have boards with nails in them. So make sure people are not only aware of their surroundings and where they're walking so they don't fall down, but also watch their footing and make sure they're not stepping on anything sharp or dangerous. There are a lot of places that get cleaned up that do also serve as places where the homeless like to congregate or hang out. So if you find a camp, just sort of stay away from it. A clear sign of an issue is toilet paper or something like that you see around. Tell people, we don't want you to be picking up any feces. If there's something gross out there, don't pick it up. That's pretty much the only issue that we come across with the homeless. Sometimes there's camps in proximity, but they're usually nice and quiet, and sometimes they'll even come and help out. Minors should be accompanied by an adult. Sometimes we get a lot of young kids. That's fine, they can run around, but make sure there's going to be responsible adults there watching over it. And I think that's pretty much it as it goes for safety.
And then if you do need a reminder of all those things that were said, so all of the bins will have one of these, be cautious of sharks. And on the back it has a bit of a reminder about the safety tips and all that. And each one of you, again, will have a first aid kit inside your bin. So if anyone does nick themselves or anything of that sort, they'll have that. Each one of your handouts, too, has emergency contact on page 2. Each one of the bins will also have one of these. So you guys will be given a coordinator data sheet. The data sheet has a list of the things that we're looking for. Like Evan said, we are collecting data throughout this program so then we can help with legislation, and this is the way we do it. We do that by doing what's called the sorting method. We'll do a bit of a demonstration here soon. And what we're doing is we're sorting out our trash between recycling, what goes in landfill, but also taking note of all the different things that you're finding, the straws, the single-use plastic forks, different things of that sort. I'll send you all a PDF of this so you can have an idea of, you know, what you're looking for, and if you guys want to, you know, do some homework and study up on it, you'll have a concrete understanding, so the day of you're not like kind of scrambling over here. And then for large groups that you may have, or groups of like 4 or more, you can also give them these are the volunteer sheets. It's very similar to the sheet that the coordinator sheet, but these you can give out to volunteers, and they can keep track of their own trash, what they're collecting as they go, or they can sort their own pile as they bring it out of the tarp, and then they can just give you the sheet and you can add that to your coordinator sheet. So there's different ways you can go about that. You know, you could sort them all yourself. You can give your volunteers their own sheet to sort out themselves. It just depends what way you want to go about doing that. A new system, we're going to try to get everyone one of these bucket weighers for the day of. It's really important once you have finished your cleanup, you get and you are sorting out all your materials. What you can do once you have your plastic, your trash all sorted out, and you have your data sheet collected, you can put them back in a bucket before you dump it, and you can weigh it out to get a more accurate, you know, feel of how much something weighs. And then from there, you can dump it into your bin. We're going to try it out for the first time this year and see how it works. And then that way, you know, you have a better guesstimation of it. But on your sheet, on the day of sheet, I do have a kind of like a little equation of how much one of these bins actually weighs. So if you get a full bin, it'll tell you exactly how much that would weigh, and you can kind of estimate whether it's like a half bin or a quarter bin, how much you're getting. For the individual city captains, the day of, I would like the data for your city, but then I would still like the individual sites to be emailed to me, so then I could enter that data for the Coastal Commission, have a bit more accurate data of each of the sites as well. Important that we try to get the data in by 1:30, because then I have to try to submit all that information back in by 2. The way we'll go about it is that I would like to receive either a phone call or text message of the information that you have gathered on your sheet itself. I will need the weight of, it'll have it on the second sheet for the day of. I will need the pounds for trash, pounds for recycling, number of volunteers, and approximate mileage. Something you can do beforehand just to get an idea of what the mileage is maybe go on Google Maps for your sites and get a feel of like the range of what your cleanup site's going to be, and kind of get the mileage beforehand so you don't have to scramble that same day and be like, oh, what's my mileage? So that's just like a tip and trick I'd recommend. At the bottom of that same day cleanup sheet as well, we have emergency contact information and different protocols just in case someone gets injured or hurt, or you find something that needs to be reported. So once you've done your welcome, you've gotten your waiver signed, you've done your safety protocol, and you have everyone set up with their materials, you send them out, have your group come back anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes beforehand. Because the sorting method does take a while, it's important to have people there with you. So even at the very beginning, if you can get some volunteers, that would be great. Just be like, hey, can anybody help me sort trash, you know, near the end of the day? So you're not stuck being the only one there trying to collect the data and stuff, because it can get a little overwhelming. So that's definitely a recommendation. Try to get people to help you through and through the end, getting everything in the bins and all of that, so you're all set. As far as bringing back the material, I will try to be at the RCD office for those of you that are in Napa by around, I'll probably just try to get there by noon, just so I'm already stationed there, and I'll be there collecting everyone's data. I'll be outside the basement area, and you guys can just come by and start dropping things off. If any of you have a chance to just rinse off your buckets, that would be amazing. Just so I'm not, stuck rinsing out 100 buckets. I did get
We're the only county that does this sort of sorting method with the tarp and spacing it all out. Sort of a teachable moment. It's an opportunity for people to learn, but it's also an opportunity if it's not really windy to do it. If the conditions aren't good for sorting stuff out on the trash, then or on the ground like this, then don't feel like you have to do it. That's when the bags or buckets right into the bins is the way to go. This is sort of just an opportunity. If it works out, that's great. Do it this way. People love to take a picture of it. They see how much is gathered over the whole day as opposed to just what they were able to grab during the day. And it seems like people really enjoy it for some reason. So it's a great thing to do. But if it's awkward or it doesn't feel like it's going to work for your site, don't try to do something that's not going to work.
You can just take it home with you.
There we go. But you can do sort of glass, aluminum, plastic over on one side, maybe. Take it easy. Wrappers, you'll see. We get pretty much all the usual stuff here, except for no rubber duck. So there's some questionable things, like I would say this probably isn't cherry Coca-Cola. So this goes in the trash. Don't bother dumping it out and trying to clean it and recycle it. Full beers are, that probably goes in with the not Coca-Cola.
So like the film plastic here, I call this really cheap plastic. It's a soft, flexible plastic. This is all landfill materials. So you have those kind of guys, and these are like our residential posters. So the dog poop bag, we have it here with the dog poop inside of it, would fall into the trash. And then your like candy wrappers or your coffee cups, those kind of things, those would be landfill as well. That guy is actually
This
pretty
one's
funny.
sneaking in. They're trying to sneak away too.
Yeah, so that one is actually a compostable cup. So
And if you put it in with the recyclable cups, it'll mess it all up and they'll
It
have to
does.
throw it all in the garbage.
it's not 100% accurately, but but it does mess it up. So if you look at it and you see, and GOTS is 100% compostable as well, so that could go into the compost.
Sneaky.
And then these kind of containers right here, these Yobel kind of ice cream frozen yogurt containers are compostable as well. So I like to say with compost, anything that was ever alive, plant or animal, can go into the compost. And that includes all food. Maybe you find some pizza boxes filled with pizza while you're out here or something. Or soiled paper products. That's mainly what you're going to find, like this frozen yogurt container. They can all go into the green bin, which is your compost. If you don't know what it is, when in doubt, throw it out. That's my policy.
I'm going to call this another cheap plastic.
There you go. A lot of cheap plastic out here. Things like candy wrappers and stuff, those are trash. They're flimsy kind of plastic. You have that metal. Oh, you don't want to donate that Barbie doll? Just kidding. Don't donate it. You have this metal kind of can, which could be recycled. That one's like flat and looks safe to do. So you can recycle it in there. This Otter Pop, you see this guy? Landfill it. It's definitely a landfill. If you find, which Leaf did not find, come on, Leaf, I thought you found everything out there. Batteries or like e-waste or those kind of things, you're going to want to set it aside. That's a separate sort of collection. So yeah, there's a nice watch too.
This has batteries in it.
Yeah. So that one would fall into the e-waste area. So you want to keep it separate. It
And
does
you have your
not go.
cell phones, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it does not go in trash, recycling, or compost. You have to dispose of it in a different manner.
Little bits of styrofoam.
Styrofoam is trash, definitely. Plastic bags are trash, as we've talked about so far. These kind of like little plastic kind of containers right here for condiments and things are trash as well. They are a plastic, but they're a very cheap plastic and they're so small. You want to get your bottle caps and stuff in the trash as well. Those kind of deals, recycling section.
So dirty glass is okay.
Yeah, it should be fine.
And then a tip for those who do this sort of thing more often than not: don't throw your glass bottles anywhere. Don't throw them down on the ground. Don't throw them in the bin. They'll bust and shatter and send glass different directions. So it's often something you'll see people getting really excited, and they'll keep throwing plastic and throwing the glass, and then
So you have this guy right here. This straw, what do you think it is?
I think it's a
Trash.
travesty.
Yeah, it's trash, but the lid itself could be recycled. If it's not
The
super
lid
dirty.
is number 5.
Yeah, it's a polypropylene, so
a
it could be
question.
recycled. Yeah.
About those plastics, so you said the GOTS was compostable, I guess,
Yeah.
you know that, but I mean, is there a way for us to
It
tell?
says
It is-
greenware on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's a
greenware.
greenware, or it says 7 PLA. PLA
Oh, okay.
stands for plant-based, bio-based plastic. So
So
yeah, you have greenware.
this one, these go in the
Yeah.
green.
Organic centric.
Straw also?
Theirs are compostable, just because I've audited before. I know that for a fact. Even though they don't compost very well.
How
either.
about like really dirty plastic?
That's a really great question. It was really dirty. I would hate to say it, but I would landfill it.
Because do we have a problem with not having really pure recyclable plastics, and it messes up the whole recycling and reusing thing? So
Yeah.
something like this can contaminate the batch.
Exactly.
But the dirty bottles that are like that are okay because they
Glass, they're
wash
gonna
off.
they're gonna
this is
they're gonna
totally
melt
separate.
it,
They're
all
gonna
that
wash
stuff
it,
will
yeah.
burn off.
And that's why I was like glass bottles, like at home personally, like leaving if it's like a wine bottle and it has one of those metal screw on tops, leaving that metal screw on top on it, because that way the glass recycler is able to capture that metal and recycle it as well. If you take it off, it won't be captured; it'll be lost and probably landfilled in the long run.
So
this-
metal lids.
Yeah, it's so small I would landfill it to begin with. Unfortunately, if it were on something, I would say yeah. All those guys got a lot of landfill.
How about when people bring you back pieces of wood?
If it's clean, untreated, not painted wood, you could compost it, even if there's nails in it. Yeah. We're able to
Or
take it.
sometimes you can just throw it back in the creek too. If it's really like okay wood, like just a stick that somebody brings.
Oh, if it's
Just, yeah, that does happen.
What about the paper that's like wax coated?
those guys, you can compost
You
those.
can,
Yeah,
okay.
definitely. Yeah, any paper products like that, even if it's a wax or like, unfortunately, Starbucks cups are plastic, that we're able to compost them because it's not a huge amount of our stream.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Easter egg, plastic Easter eggs, always found. Even when there's no little rubber duckies, you will find an Easter egg
That's
piece.
so crazy. I would trash it.
Absolutely. So we're trying to get people not to buy them too.
Yeah, it's terrible. Those kind of containers are super dirty. If they were clean, I'd say you could recycle them. But because they're so dirty, I would landfill it.
This
It's
is
probably-
number 5.
Yeah, it's probably polypropylene. They're usually made out of 1s or 5s. typically. Yeah.
What if they're clean but they're like really degraded by being out in the weather? Are those okay to recycle?
Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah. It started on the process.
Okay, got it.
How
Yeah.
about like a container for a plant?
That's gonna be landfill. Yeah. If it were like a black plastic one, then you know when you have potted plants and stuff, a lot of those can be recycled. But that one was super dirty and had a plant in it, so I wouldn't put it in
We
the
dump the
recycling.
plant out.
Landfill.
All types of foam.
Yeah.
are garbage.
A lot of trash, unfortunately. Cigarette butts are trash. I see some in there. Oh, this is a good one.
Oh
You
yeah,
wanna
here.
grab this right
What else
here?
do we have?
You wanna grab that container?
Mm.
So these guys, if it feels empty, you can totally recycle it. An aerosol container is recyclable if it's empty. So, I'll
How about balls? We find lots of balls. They're all
balls,
trash.
yeah, they're all trash. Definitely. Your pen is trash. If you want to grab a Sharpie, that guy would be trash. So trash, yeah. All flimsy sort of plastic that's not hard or durable, we call it rigid plastic, will be trash. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, so we try to separate the recycling in categories. The glass and the cartons, like milk cartons and stuff, are all recyclable. Then the metals categories, and that's from can of beans to soda to aluminum foil. Even there's a little bit of food on it, you can recycle it. And then the rigid plastics and the clean paper and cardboard. If the paper is no longer clean and it becomes soiled, that's when it becomes compost. So soiled paper products, even with a paraffin or a shiny coat on it, can be composted in our system. And then last but not least is that landfill again, all that flimsy plastic, single use, portion control items that would go into the trash.